Hello, welcome back to another video lesson in astrology. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about Mars in the fourth house. To use this information, you require two charts. The first one is, of course, the basic chart, the Rashi chart, and the next one is the Bhava chart. From the Rashi chart, you get to know whether Mars is in its own sign or exalted, deep exaltation, which is Caprican 28 degrees, or deep debilitation, which is 28 degrees Cancer. Whether Mars is in its Mula Trikona, which is the first 12 degrees of Aries. Whether Mars occupies the sign of its friends, and the friends of Mars are the Moon, Jupiter, and the Sun. And whether Mars occupies the sign of its enemy, Mercury. There are two signs for Mercury, and that is Mars in Gemini or Mars in Virgo. Mars is not comfortable being in these two signs because Mars is the red planet and it hates to be in the green. And the green signs are Gemini and Virgo. Also, if you want to know whether Mars is with malefics like Rahu or Ketu or Saturn, all this is to be known only from the Rashi chart. Even aspects, conjunctions, everything is to be known only from the Rashi chart. Then what is the Bhava chart or the Chalit chart to be used for? The Bhava chart or the Chalit chart is just used to know which house Mars is in. That's it. Beyond that, there is no other use of the Bhava chart. I hope I have made this very clear, and so let's move on to the green board. There are 12 different ways Mars may be in the fourth house in your horoscope. That's because there are 12 ascendants, 12 lagnas, and the one that I have in front of you is Aries ascendant, Mesha lagna. By now you all know that the ascendant is house number 1. The houses are numbered always clockwise, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is the fourth house where Mars is. In the next few minutes I'll be taking you through all the 12 possibilities, but the idea of doing this is because each time the effect of Mars will definitely not be the same. And in this first case, I would like to tell you that this Mars is going to be more of the negative side of Mars being in the fourth. That's because Mars is debilitated. And here we have another possibility with Rishabha Lagna, Taurus ascendant, and Mars is in the fourth house. This Mars is better off. That is because Mars is in the sign of his friend, the Sun. At least it is not debilitated. So you can expect some good out of this. Now this is another case of Mars being in the fourth house, and this time Mars is not in a good mood because Mars occupies the sign of Mercury. You also by now know that for Mithuna Lagna or Gemini ascendant, as in this horoscope, Mars is a very important, a top rated functional malefic. And here the problem of Mars in the fourth aggravates because Mars is also the sixth lord in the fourth house. Sixth means problems or enemies or competitors, and that sits in the fourth house. So this Mars is definitely calling for attention, and people having this combination must do a lot of remedies connected to the Mars in the fourth house. This is another instance of Mars being in the fourth house, but this Mars is somewhat mellowed down, softened up a bit because he is occupying the house of natural benefic Venus. And not only that, this Mars is good because for a Karkataka Lagna person like this, as shown in this horoscope, which is Cancer ascendant, Mars is supposed to be a Yoga Karaka, and the Yoga Karaka sitting in the fourth house is welcome. This is another example of Mars in the fourth house. This Mars is going to do extremely well because Mars is in its own sign, and for a Leo ascendant, as in this case, Simha Lagna people, Mars is the best of all planets, and to have the Yoga Karaka Mars sitting in own house, and that too in the fourth house, which is a Kendra, is definitely an extraordinary advantage. And not only that, this Mars gives rise to a very famous yoga called Ruchaka Yoga, Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga with lots of plus points, and this Mars is definitely going to do a lot of good things to you. In the third part of this video, I'll be talking about Mars in the fourth as stated by Sage Bhrigu, and you need to pick up only the positive statements of what Sage Bhrigu has said, because Mars here is definitely going to give only the positive results and suppress the negative results. So this is Kanya Lagna Virgo ascendant, and we have Mars in the fourth house. This Mars is definitely better off because it occupies not just the sign of Jupiter, his friend, but Jupiter is also a top natural benefic, and so Mars will try to give more of the positive results despite being the lord of the third and the eighth house. This is for Tula Lagna people, Libra ascendant people, and then Mars is in the fourth house, and this Mars is exalted, thereby giving rise to a Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, which is Ruchaka Yoga, thanks to Mars, and this person will have more of the Martian qualities. The advantages of Mars being in the fourth will definitely be experienced by this person. This is a Vrishchika Lagna person, a Scorpio ascendant, and then you have Mars in the fourth. This Mars is not good because Mars occupies the sign of Saturn and does not have any special advantage like exaltation or any other advantage. Maybe after you see the individual horoscope, the specific horoscopes, you might find some plus points in terms of benefic aspecting this planet, or Mars is with a benefic, and so on. In this horoscope, the ascendant is Sagittarius, a Dhanu Lagna person, and Mars is in the fourth house. This Mars is definitely better off. That's because Mars occupies the sign of Jupiter, and not only that, this Mars is good because for a Sagittarius ascendant person, Mars is considered to be a functional benefic. So to get further information, it is better to read the individual horoscope because this Mars might be influenced by favorable planets or afflicted by unfavorable planets. This is a Makara Lagna person, a Caprican ascendant. Here you have Mars in the fourth, but this Mars is definitely at an advantage. That's because Mars is in its own sign and therefore contributes to a Panch Mahapurusha Yoga called Ruchaka Yoga. And this is definitely a great advantage. Even though for Makara Lagna people, Mars is supposed to be a top functional malefic. Irrespective of that, this Mars is likely to bring out more of the good side of Mars being in the fourth and will suppress the negative side of Mars in the fourth. This is for Kumbha Lagna people, Aquarius ascendant, and you have Mars in the fourth house. This Mars is less likely to give the negative sides of Mars being in the fourth because Mars is in the sign of Venus, a natural benefic, and therefore Mars will soften up a great deal by being in this kind of house, like the house of Venus or Jupiter. But there is nothing more special about Mars being here. This is the last possibility, Pisces ascendant and Meena Lagna. This Mars is likely to bring out more of its negative side, and that's because Mars occupies the sign of Mercury. So let's go back to Bhrigu Sutra by Sage Bhrigu. The translation is by Dr G S Kapoor. Sage Bhrigu starts by saying, Mars in the fourth house gives the following results. Graha Chidram. If Mars is in the fourth house, there will be adversities in the family of the native, causing domestic disturbances. When I looked up the word Grahachidra on spokensanskrit.de, which is a usual website I refer to whenever I have doubts regarding the meaning of a Sanskrit word, I found the following meaning: breach in a house or family dissensions, problem with the family. Ashtame Varshe Pitra Rishtam Matrurogi. Very clear. Ashtame means eighth, when the person is 8 years old. Pitra Rishtam Matrurogi. Pitra is relating to father. Let's look up the meaning of Rishta, and there are a lot of meaning, but Dr. G S Kapoor translates this as the father may die in the 8th year of the native. Of course, Rishta has many meaning, And you see here like injured or wounded, broken, bad omen, misfortune. So many meanings are there. So it looks like it need not be the death of the native's father. It is also possible. And the other word is matru rogi. The mother of the native will always be in bad health. Quite easy to understand. Saumya yute paragrahavasaha. So if Mars is associated with Mercury, his enemy, the native will not have a house of his own but may have to live in someone else's house. This is how the translation goes. It's clear, it's very clear. The meaning of Saumya is the Graha Buddha, and that's because Buddha is the son of the moon. Niroga Shariri, the opposite of Roga, free from diseases. The translation goes like this: the native will enjoy good health but will have no land of his own. Dhanadanya Hinaha and Jirna Grahavasaha. Jirna is living in someone else's house. Ucche Swakshetre Shubhayute Mitra Kshetre Vahanavan Kshetravan and Matru Dirgayuha. So once again we have the conditions apply. So on the green board you see a condition where Mars is exalted in the fourth, and here Sage Bhrigu very clearly states that whatever has been stated earlier will not happen if Mars is Ucche, exalted, or Swakshetra in own house or with good planets. For example, even without the exaltation, if Jupiter were to be here, or let's say Jupiter were to be here where you would be looking at Mars directly, or even the indirect aspect, what we call as the special aspect, Jupiter looks at the fifth from itself, or it could have been like this, where Jupiter looks at Mars using his ninth house aspect. Even if Mars was not exalted, the benefic aspects give relief to whatever has been stated earlier. So please do not rush to conclusions. The moment you see a badly placed Mars in the fourth, it could be aspected by Jupiter, whose aspect or conjunction cancels the doshas of any planet. So if Mars is in his own sign, Aries or Scorpio, or in his sign of exaltation, as in Capricorn, and is in conjunction with a benefic or in a friendly sign, the native will own conveyances, lands, and his mother will be long lived. On the other hand, Nichakshe, so if Mars is in a sign of debilitation, Cancer, and Papa, Mrityute, if Mars is conjunct Malefics or is associated with the Lord of the 8th house, Matrunashaha, the native will suffer from the loss of his mother early in his life. Saumyayute Vahana Nishtavan, Bandhu Janadveshi, Swadesha Parityagi Vastrahinaha. Dr. G S Kapoor has translated this as he will have inimical relationship with his near relatives, will live away from his native place. Today this could be considered as a luck in foreign countries, but though not exactly a luck, but the ability to go away from the native place includes the luck in foreign country as well, and will be without proper clothes. He may not be dressed properly, maybe he lacks the dress sense. This is how Sage Bhrigu describes Mars in the fourth house. We have come to the end of this video. In case you have any doubts, please type them out in the comment section, and whenever I find the time, I'll answer them for you. And see you soon in my next video.